In the summer of 1795, English feminist philosopher Mary Wollstonecraft traveled to Scandinavia on business. The goal was to help her lover, Gilbert Imlay, recover a ship with valuable cargo, but the journey turned reflective and personal. She had recently discovered Imlay's unfaithfulness, and she was shaken. While in Norway, she wrote him a series of letters, detailing not only the business affairs, but also her personal reflections on their relationship and her absence from him. She wrote that her absence from her loved ones was a form of temporary death, which caused her to further cling to these affections. I was curious if this was possible, to use letter writing to connect with others while on a journey of self-reflection. I've always loved letter writing, but I've never really applied it to my academic interests as a philosophy major at Claremont McKenna. But philosophy isn't just an academic discipline confined to the walls of the university. It is meant to teach us how to live day to day. Wollstonecraft's letter writing didn't work. She returned to find that Gilbert had no intention of restoring their relationship, in spite of her letters. I hope that through my project, I can offer some redemption to her letters' intentions and reconnect with people from my life, to apologize, offer gratitude, and remember that we are all connected, no matter how long we've gone without communication.
I haven't filmed a video like this in so long, it almost feels unnatural. It is 1:30 p.m. I'm leaving for the airport at 5 p.m. So there's 3.5 hours until I begin this trip that I literally have been thinking of for a year and a half. Something a little bit daunting about that. There's something a little bit scary about thinking about all these things that you've put into this plan for years and years and years and years, and now it's finally happening. Like, there's this sort of antsiness that it's like, what if I don't succeed the way that I want it to succeed? But the thing about this situation and this project that I have going is there's really no way to fail so long as I'm honest with myself and honest in my writing. And I think that that's something that I've truly been working on since I was a freshman in college. I used to lie in my journal all the time. I would lie and say that I was happy, that something didn't bother me, etc., 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 when truly there was sort of like angstiness that you can read in my old journal pages because I just wasn't being truthful. So I'm really hoping that I am not afraid to confront my emotions on this trip. That's really my biggest thing. I just need to transfer that honesty to my letter writing. I'm not dishonest with the people around me, but I think that I have this fear of being vulnerable with others. And so I'm really hoping that I can take vulnerability that I'm so used to with myself and really transfer it to the page when I send these letters. So grateful that Sam and Lillian are coming with me. I truly don't feel like I deserve their friendship. How lucky am I to have met these people 3.5 months ago in Dallas, and now we're going to Norway together. I'm so grateful that I get the opportunity to experience this with them. I truly cannot believe that this is all starting in 3.5 hours.
I haven't journaled in over a week. Why do I have this tendency in the summer? It's like I don't want to confront any feelings that might be sitting dormant in my gut. I may not be outwardly feeling something, and I refuse to drag up emotions unnecessarily. I don't want to face the deepest parts of myself at the expense of my comfort. It's hedonistic to preserve my comfort and not attempt to better myself. In some Aristotelian way, isn't it a little selfish to constantly work on myself at the expense of not paying attention to those around me? I have a finite amount of attention, and it seems narcissistic to direct it all inwards. Well, I guess that's the purpose of this project. Turning my most used medium, writing, into a way to connect with others. Turn that attention outwards. I keep thinking to myself, I don't deserve the privilege of this project. And, well, that sentiment isn't wrong. I don't deserve any good thing that happens to me. I'm wretched and poor in spirit. I have an extremely weak will and even weaker patience. I'm not trying to say this to mean poor, pitiful Greta with a low self-esteem. I mean to say that I am inherently selfish and a self-absorbed person. And that's where this project comes in, right? I take writing and turn it into a means for connection. I'm not trying to figure myself out this trip, a never-ending puzzle, one that I can put on pause for 2 weeks. Who knows, maybe in the course of 2 weeks of solitary outward focus, it will in some weird way teach me about myself.
We made it. I was on the plane today, and this man sitting next to me just struck up a conversation, and he asked me what I was majoring in. He told me he lived in Colombia, in DC, in Norway, and he was like on his way home after like not being in Norway for 3 years. And I thought that that was like super interesting. And it reminded me of when I was a senior in high school and I went to visit my friends at WashU, and I met these 2 men, and both of our flights were delayed by like 8 hours. And so we just hung out at the airport, and they were like in their 70s. And to this day, like I still text one of them like very frequently. Whenever he texts me, like it makes my day. And we talk about travel, we talk about everything. What better person to start my first letter with than to my travel buddy who's always telling me about his adventures. So I'm very grateful to have the chance to tell him about mine.
Dear Dwayne, I'm currently doing a study abroad project in Norway where I'm writing letters to people who have impacted my life. Today is my first day, and I met a man on the plane who struck up a conversation about life and it reminded me of our talks at the St. Louis airport in January of 2024. I wanted to take a moment to reiterate how much that time meant to me. To hear about your life story and travels made an 8-hour delay feel like nothing, and I'm so glad to have continued our friendship over the past 2.5 years. Thank you for your check-ins and encouragement. You have no idea how much that has meant to me during my first 2 years of college. It takes a very special person to be as kind and caring as you, and I'm so grateful to have known you.
All done with the first one. I can already just tell that this experience is gonna be very rewarding. I hate to call the shots too soon, but I'm just very grateful for conversations that I've had so far, the things that I've been perceiving. I've been trying really hard to not be on my phone. It's really hard when you're alone. If I was on a trip with my friends right now, I wouldn't be looking at my phone because I'm walking around everywhere alone. It's really hard for me to not just default to looking at my phone. So I'm trying really hard to be intentional about reading and writing and thinking and noticing the things around me, which I know is incredibly basic to say. Isn't that sort of the point of a solo trip, is to really be taking these things in? Very grateful for the way that this trip has already inspired me to notice things more, but I'm also really grateful for just the sense that I get that this is going to be something that's meaningful, not just to me, but I really hope that I can use this as an outpouring of love for other people. This project could very easily become something incredibly selfish, where I am thinking about the ways in which that I can improve myself and I can make myself better. But that's not what the point of this trip is. The way that I do these deep introspections on myself, I want to do that sort of deep level analysis on the people around me and on the people in my life that I've failed to appreciate. Good morning. It is 8 a.m. I woke up at 3 a.m, looked outside, and half of it was still bright. That's so crazy. We're staying in Oslo today. I have been released for my first day in Oslo. We're heading over to the Opera House, view of the harbor, Ferris wheel, cruise departing shortly, I assume. Also, I didn't say this earlier, but I'm trying to break in my hiking boots, so my legs feel extremely heavy right now. But I'm doing the Trolltunga hike later, but I realized last week that I didn't have hiking boots, so that's a problem that I'm trying to fix right now. Next stop is we're going to the Munch Museum, which is a bunch of the works of Edvard Munch, who's a Norwegian artist. He's very famous for The Scream, but I remember hearing about it and learning about it in my AP Art History class in 9th grade. It's crazy to me that all these pictures have stuck with me over the test of time. Evidence to my amazing 9th grade AP Art History teacher. I just really admired her passion for all the works that she was talking about. I'm sure she's taught this course for years and years and years and years, but even when I was in 9th grade and she had taught it years before, she was still so excited about all of them. I thought it was so sweet. Very grateful for that. These were a childhood staple, so had to grab one. I'm starting to realize how lonely this trip might have been for Mary Wollstonecraft. I have the ability to text my friends and talk to them. It makes sense that she was writing as many letters as she did, because how can you not? How can you go that long without talking to someone that you know? So I'm very grateful that Lillian is joining me next week. I think it'll lift my spirits a little bit. Not that I'm in any way sad. It's hard to walk around and fill a full day completely by yourself and then remember that you have to do the exact same thing the next day. Norwegian Palace. To be perfectly honest, until I started researching this trip years ago, I didn't know that Norway had a monarchy. Not very tapped into my culture. Obviously, I saw people around me growing up who looked like me, but since coming here, it's so interesting to look in someone's face and we are the same phenotype. I guess the only place I really had that before coming here was camp, looking into someone's face and being we look similar. Since coming here, every single person I look at, I'm wow, we have the same facial structure, which I guess makes sense, but it's a little bit eerie. I also find it really interesting how open and public this whole thing is. That is the palace right there. You can see it through the trees. I could walk up and touch it if I wanted to. After being in DC all summer, the White House is so blocked off. There's parts of it that used to be open to the public that aren't open anymore. Really, really interesting. Just I don't want to call it civic engagement, but the closeness that it feels the monarchy has to the people. I came to this food hall, which is the last stop on the blue line here. Some hot dogs and fries, and look at that. That's the city of Oslo.
I couldn't figure out why I was so nervous for this trip a week ago until I realized it was going to be one of my first times totally alone in a new place for this long. Freshman year doesn't count since I put roots down and knew I was going to see all those people for the next 4 years. Besides, I knew a lot of the first year guides ahead of time, and I had the promise of Henry's arrival after a week. But here, I'm totally and completely alone. I thought Iceland was the adventure of a lifetime last year, but at least I had Ava. Man, I miss Ava. I was thinking about that as I was walking around Oslo today. It's impossible for me to get annoyed with her, and I can talk with her about almost anything. Almost was a silly, unnecessary quantifier there. I can talk with her about anything. Ava has been there for me through the best and worst moments of my life. She's probably the most empathetic person I know, though maybe it's because we live parallel lives. I hope that I'm as good a friend to her as she is to me. It sucks that we now live across the country from one another. I was so silly in high school. I made playlists and wrote endless diary entries about being 1,762 miles from my high school boyfriend, who I had been with, a month? And failed to realize I was going to be 2,686 miles from my best friend. This year, I've missed her more than ever. I didn't call or text her nearly as much as I wanted to or should have. Sure, I've made friends at college, but none of them are Ava. I wish she was here with me.
Just went to the ski jump museum. I bought some reindeer sausage when I was there. Something fun that we could try. I'm also starting to realize how shocked I look. I'm off to grab another waffle. That was really good earlier. And then additionally, I'm gonna get a host gift. A woman that I'm staying with mentioned that she really likes flowers. So I really hope that these are nice, good gift. Tough news, I found out that the trains stop leaving on the hour every hour, kind of later in the night. So I have about an hour and a half until my train leaves from here. But perfect timing for me to write my letter for the day.
Dear Ava, today was my first day in Norway. As I was walking around Oslo, I was thinking about how much I enjoyed Iceland last summer. And man, it made me miss you. I spent the past 2 semesters missing you more than ever. Not to say I didn't miss you freshman year, because I did, big time. But I dismissed it as growing pains and evidence of normal freshman homesickness. But how could I not continue to miss the girl that I grew up alongside for 7 years? During middle and high school, you were my closest and most consistent friend. That holds true today. There are very few, if any, people who know or understand me better. You are the most empathetic person I know. Not only because we live strangely parallel lives, but also in your natural kindness. Who would have thought that the girl who showed up to practice without her medical forms would become one of my best friends? And how lucky am I for that? I'm so grateful that no matter who I am or what I do, I can always count on your faithfulness. But that faithfulness doesn't come with unwavering support. I can tell that you want what's best for me, because you're not afraid to call me out on my mistakes and improper thinking. Aristotle distinguished between 3 kinds of friendship: utility, pleasure, and virtue. I was reading Nicomachean Ethics on the plane to Norway, and as I took it all in, I couldn't stop thinking, Ava is a friend of virtue. Our friendship is based on so much more than convenience or entertainment. There's a reason I call you my twin flame and the other half of my soul. You so graciously understand me in a way no one else does or ever will. Part of that comes from growing up together, but part of that is intangible and unexplainable connection. Thank you for being one phone call away, and thank you for understanding me in ways I can't even comprehend. I love you more than words. Greta Long.
Made it back. This is crazy that this is 9 p.m. It's not even starting to get dark at this point. Right day. Day 2 in Oslo today. I was out like a light yesterday. I ended up getting 28,000 steps. We're leaving for the train in about 5 minutes. I wore a more athletic outfit today just because yesterday I got so sweaty, which I wasn't expecting. It was 70 degrees and I was just sweating. I have plans to go to the Folk Museum and see a bunch of deconstructed and then reconstructed Norwegian buildings. And then I really want to go back to Vigeland's Park, which I went to yesterday, but I didn't go for quite as long as I wanted to. Just finished at the Nobel Peace Prize Institute, which was really interesting, but they seemed a little bit angry in there, so I didn't really want to film myself talking about any of it. I've made my way over to the Folk Museum, which is a bunch of deconstructed and reconstructed buildings. I took a ferry over here. Clearly it's very loud, but I'm very excited. Walking is starting to get to me. I really want to see the reconstructed state church. That's what I'm on my way to. Oh my gosh, how fitting. It to the reconstructed state church that is over 1,000 years old. Lutheranism, which is my denomination, is really big in Norway. In addition to state churches, they also have something called praying houses, which I found out about this week, which is where you go for community activities during the week and just to connect with other people, because the services are highly liturgical, which is getting less and less popular today. Obviously, it's something that I really like, and I'm really bummed that I won't be in town to go to my host family's state church. I just think this building is so beautiful, and I'm so excited to go see inside. Now I'm heading to the dock to get on the boat to go back to central Oslo. And then I think I'm gonna go to the park that I went to yesterday. I just really enjoyed it and I wanted to get to spend more time there. I have about 3 hours until my train back. The maze is just over there underneath the fountain. It looks like there's a lot of people there right now, so I'm hoping that I'm not disturbing anyone. Let's go. I look mentally unwell. There's a lot of people here that have seen me kind of standing in the same spot for a really long time, and it's because there's someone in my path. And I think that they think that I don't know where I am, like in the world. Like I think that they think lights on, no one's home. This is fun. I'm enjoying it though. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking about my mom a lot. Not because like the action specifically makes me think of her, but after walking around this park and seeing all the statues of moms with daughters, it just made me think like I just have not been the best daughter recently. I guess I'm just feeling very convicted of that. This meditative walk is maybe good for that. I know part of that angst comes with the territory of being a daughter, but that doesn't mean that I still don't like feel guilty for it or know that I should have been better and I should have been more forgiving and more gracious and more thoughtful. Really been thinking about that and the way that even though there's like some things that are inevitable and that's part of growing up and part of becoming an adult is making decisions that your parents don't approve of, it doesn't mean that they weren't right the whole time about that being the wrong decision for you. I did it just as it started raining. I feel almost stupid for not realizing the cliches about like mothers and daughters sooner. Not realizing like my mom is right and like does have my best interest in mind. Like I was looking at the statues of mothers and their children, and like even though they're like bronze statues, like the way that the mother is looking at her child in the statue is just with like such love and tenderness that like my mom still looks at me with, even though I was worrying that I wasn't going to be feeling any emotion on this trip, like being completely alone. And here I am. I guess God works in very, very mysterious ways. All of these are such like rudimentary realizations, and they're all things that like people 100 years ago were thinking of every single day. But I think it really just takes like separation from everything that you've ever known and like that total isolation to really like feel the gravity of that sink in, I guess.
I went back to Vigeland Park today with all the bronze statues on the bridge. As soon as I went there yesterday, I knew I wanted to go back, especially so I could see the mother-child statues. There's one in particular that stuck with me. The mom and kid both stand upright, back to back, with their arms crossed. They both look so defiant, like neither of them will admit wrongdoing. Funnily enough, though, just looking at the statue, you can tell the child is wrong. It's honestly a really funny image. The child is a third of the size of the mother. There's no way they have enough wisdom to be in the right. It would take nothing short of a miracle. It reminded me of Mom, and I'm sure that's how she sees me. And she's right to see me that way. I am only 20 years old. It's foolish to assume I know anything about the world. She does have my best interest in mind, and she generally knows how to bring that about. Dear Mommy, today was my second day in Oslo. I went to Vigeland Park for the second time. I wanted to see the mother-child statues again. Even though they're only statues, you can sense the deep emotional bond the artist was trying to portray. The way the mothers look at their children reminded me of you. I've been a pretty hellish daughter recently. I've made so many mistakes, all of which I could have prevented by simply listening to your advice. In spite of my defiance, foolishness, and resistance, you've continued to love me. I can't fathom such grace. One time in high school, you asked me how and why I continue to forgive my friends over and over again. The way they treated me was awful, but the ways I've treated you are worse. I can't imagine how you forgive me. I'm so sorry. I know I probably haven't made it easy. I don't know why I am the way that I am. I don't know where all this quarter-life angst comes from, but it doesn't mean I can just decimate our relationship. I don't want to. I can't promise to be perfect. After all, that's impossible. But I promise to try harder. I want to listen more and become more like you. Patient, gracious, and loving. I almost wish I could come home and give you a hug. You were right when you said God can use the solitude to teach us things. You're right about most things, and I'm sorry I've been too stubborn to acknowledge that. I know you'll receive this after my trip, but just know that I've missed you throughout. Sincerely, Greta Long.
I'm back in Spiedeberg, and I'm walking back to the house that I'm staying with. Probably gonna eat some dinner, the hay for the evening. I'm actually in Sweden now for a few more hours. And the reason I haven't been filming much today is because my hostel for tomorrow, that I'm going to tomorrow, canceled on me. I've been trying to find a new place, and many snafus in the process.
Dear host family, thank you so much for letting me stay with you this week in Spiedeberg. I very much enjoyed getting to know the both of you through our conversations around the dinner table, in the car, or walking through the woods. Thank you for being so intentional and giving. It was my pleasure to learn more about Norway, specifically Oslo and Spiedeberg, from the both of you. I really appreciate how involved the both of you are in the community and the dedication you have to those around you. Thank you for being a model Christian couple. I can only hope that my future marriage looks like yours. Blessings to both of you for the rest of the summer. I'm so lucky to have met you.
CMC came through with a big one and booked me a hotel. This is my official unendorsement of booking.com. So tomorrow is going to be a big day of journaling on the train to Bergen. On the way to Bergen.
I I'm on the train to Bergen. Yesterday, my host family showed me around the town of Spiedeberg. They showed me one of the state churches, in addition to the prayer house that they attend around the corner from their house. The larger state churches have government-appointed pastors. The people on the appointment committee don't even have to be Christian, which seems strange. I think if I lived here, that would bother me. Spiedeberg has 3 state churches, but they rotate which churches open each Sunday. They told me it roughly follows a north-middle-south pattern, though all big ceremonies and holidays happen at the middle church. That's where my host family got married, where they had their kids baptized, and where they celebrate Christmas and Easter every year. Each church has a graveyard next to it, and people come in and hollow the ground outside. It's pretty typical for everyone, religious or otherwise, to be buried at these graveyards. They told me that some people don't like the idea of being buried on a religious plot, so some churches leave a section of unhallowed ground. When they pointed it out at the middle church, we both chuckled that the headstones still feature crosses and Bible verses. I guess you can't outrun God your whole life. He'll at least catch you in death. Right before we left the middle church, they showed me the plot where they buried their parents. In Norway, you only get a grave plot for 20 years before you need to renew your subscription. Around the time that their parents had died, their aunts were about to expire. So they decided to reuse the plot and the headstone. We sat at a stone bench and looked at the grave. Mary was a great woman, they told me. There's a story about her sitting in a church meeting where the congregation was discussing whether to allow drums and bass guitar in the worship team. I had smiled to myself then. Henry and I have the same argument frequently, and whenever I go to camp, I never know how to feel when someone goes on stage with a tambourine or a box drum. It was strangely comforting to hear that they have the same discussions in Norway. The church may feel scattered and disparate, but there's still unity in some thought, even if it's, let's discuss how to worship. The arguments were flying around across the aisle, but Mary was sitting silent in the back. Finally, they asked her what she thought. She said, "When they're on stage, I don't see drums or bass guitar. I see young children and young adults excited to worship God." I had to pause. Had I really been looking at this all wrong? For the longest time, I had been making further and further moves away from the guitar, keyboard, drum set churches because I didn't think there was enough reverence. But these young adults believe they've found their vocation in a way that I can't help but be jealous of. They have raw talent that they're working at for Christ's sake. When they told me this story, it made me think of Janet. Janet has such a talent for bringing together these young adults for the sake of working for the gospel. Even though I've had my issues and discomforts with camp at times, am I really going to let that cloud the beauty of young adults praising the Lord? I have a tendency to be so stubborn when it comes to faith. It has to be such a specific way. My host family was joking about this attitude broadly and described it as my way and the wrong way. But that's a silly way for me to think about life. It should be God's way or the wrong way. And doesn't God's way include you using your talents for his glory? I probably won't stop attending my highly liturgical Lutheran or Anglican churches, but I can be less stubborn. Dear Janet, I'm in Norway right now pursuing a philosophy project for my school. As part of my project, I'm talking with locals and reading Norwegian philosophy and responding by writing letters. Yesterday, I went to the graveyard with my host. He told me about his wife's aunt, who was sitting quietly in church while the congregation discussed whether to allow bass guitars and drums. Finally, they asked her what she thought, and she responded, "When they play music, I don't see the bass guitar or drums. I see young adults worshiping the Lord." I felt so convicted in that moment. The past 2 years at college, I've been so in the weeds of how to practice Christianity, liturgy, weekly communion, Anglicanism, that I've lost the forest, the gospel, for the trees, tradition. As we sat in the graveyard looking at the headstones, I couldn't help but think of you in camp. First, thank you for giving young adults a place to use their talents for the work of the gospel. Whether it's acting, singing, box drums, preaching, working with kids, or a whole slew of other skills, I truly believe camp is a training ground. Camp is where I learned that I was good at talking to others, and I could use that for Christ. Without camp, I'm not sure these puzzle pieces would have connected. Thank you for the staff training and pouring into every single one of us. And second, thank you for constantly reminding us that the gospel is simple and yet extraordinary. I don't know how I could have forgotten that over the past 2 years. I thank God every day that he's eternally patient with me. That's not to say the questions I ask aren't important, but they will never surpass the worth of Christ crucified, Christ resurrected. I miss you fiercely. I'm praying for you in camp. In Christ, Greta Long.
My soul, oh, don't you get shy on me, lift up your song, 'cause you got a lion inside of those lungs. Get up and praise the Lord.
Arrived in Bergen. Okay, now walking to the hotel. I'm probably gonna go for a run. I'm not gonna lie, I like this a lot better than the hostel that I was going to stay in. That one looked like it was going to be a little bit sketchy, so very happy to be here. Woohoo! Good morning. I'm gonna go to church this morning. For that, I'm obviously gonna get ready, and then I'm going to go to one of the cafes that I saw on my list. Wow, this is so beautiful. I'm actually obsessed with this. I had to break out the Norwegian sweater today. I think it's a little bit on the nose. I don't have my journal with me right now just because I thought it was a little bit too much to carry, but I was thinking about going back after church. Beautiful service. This is the church from the outside. As you can see, it's just like absolutely massive. It's very Romanesque. And now I'm heading over to the start of Fløyen, which is this mountain here in Bergen that when you get to the top, it like overlooks the whole city. There's a tram to the top, but it said that it's like only a 45-minute loop. And so I don't think that that's very long. It gives me something contemplative to do. We're not even close to the top yet. And like, look at this. This is insane. I think this might be my new favorite city that I've ever visited. I feel a little bit silly with a purse, my glasses, this shirt, and a denim skirt hiking up this mountain. But it's really not that hard of a hike.
Dear Dad, yesterday I took the train from Oslo to Bergen. I had no real plan for when I got here, to be perfectly honest. I had a very short list of things I wanted to see, expecting it to fill the 2 days I'm here. Well, it's been about 24 hours now, and I saw everything on my list and still had time for church and sleeping in. It reminded me of how when we were growing up, you were so intentional with planning out all our trips. You somehow managed to find fun, niche, local things for us to do, so that when we left, I really felt like we hadn't wasted a single moment. I don't think I realized how much of a talent that is until I've started to travel by myself. It made me miss you. You've always believed in me in a way that I never really believed in myself. I don't mean to say that I have a crisis of confidence. I was telling Mom recently that you can tell what kind of smart a person is. Naturally talented and brilliant, or someone who was afforded a lot of privileges that they capitalized on. You are definitely in the first camp, and I'm so grateful for how selflessly you use the luxuries it's afforded you to give me and Henry every opportunity possible. I think that's why I fall into the second camp. It used to bother me to not be naturally brilliant, but now I'm grateful because I know that it's a testament to my father's love for me. Thank you for being so generous and believing in me. I don't know how so many girls around me can walk around with broken relationships with their fathers. I can't imagine not being your daughter. I still remember being so terrified to go to college. A million things scared me, but the biggest ones weren't the workload, not making friends, or my future career. It was being 1,000 miles away from my dad, who every single day pushed me to be better with gentle encouragement. You weren't easy on me, which wasn't always my favorite thing, but now I can see that it was because you love me. Thank you for always being honest, candid, and genuine. I love you so much, and I'm very excited to see you when I get home.
We are done for the day. We're all cozied up in bed. I'm so happy that Lillian is coming tomorrow. I think I'm realizing that being alone is not a good thing for me. I think I'm also realizing that I am an extrovert, which I know might be like a duh moment. When a lot of people meet me, they're like, oh, Greta's an extrovert. Growing up, I was extremely introverted. I was just a very social introvert. And now I'm sort of realizing that maybe that's changed over time. I do still need like alone time to recharge in the way that everyone does, but I think that being alone for this long has not, I don't want to say it's been bad for me. It hasn't been bad for me. I think it's just starting to drive me a little bit stir crazy. I'm very happy that I'm gonna have someone to experience the city with, and I'm very happy that that person is Lillian. Good morning, everyone. I had to get an umbrella just because it's very, very rainy out this morning. I'm gonna head over to a coffee shop, do a little bit of writing. Lillian's supposed to get here around 11, so I'm gonna wait for her for that, and then I'll meet up with her.
I'm so beyond lucky that I get to spend the back half of this trip with someone, and I'm even more lucky that the someone is her. She is one of the smartest people I know, and I cannot believe the way God had brought us together. 1 year ago, I didn't know the 3 girls who would become some of my closest friends. 6 months ago, I didn't know them. And now I have 3 people who understand me so deeply, so quickly. I used to fear quick connections like that. Honestly, I still do. I still have that wariness with them. Every day, it lifts a little more and more. Now, it's practically feels non-existent. I thought that I wanted to get engaged and married in quick succession after college graduation. I'm realizing it was a strange sort of coping mechanism. I assumed my whole life was destined to be identical to my college life. There was no one I could see myself living with, spending weekends with, texting for a coffee chat in the middle of a workday. I didn't think I would have confidants, but now I have people that I want to do life alongside. In DC this summer, I saw that I could have friends when I graduate. I want to stay up late on the couch with them and wash dishes after Lillian cooks dinner. I want to host house parties and curate a playlist. I want to have music coming from a speaker nearly every hour. I want to send a text in the group chat about needing to get eggs. How lucky am I to have people that I love, that I want to do life with?
Lillian has arrived! We are in Bergen. Right now we're just sort of doing a little bit of a wandering, a little bit of a tour. Killing it!
Dear Lillian, I'm so lucky that you are with me for the second half of this trip. Life works in such mysterious ways. I'll probably tell you this sometime this week, but this trip has actually been a strange motif of my college experience. My freshman year, I applied for funding for it and I got rejected. To say I was devastated is an understatement. I had terrible imposter syndrome, and that rejection felt like it gave weight to all of my negative self-thought. I'm not creative, I'm not smart, I don't deserve to be here. I couldn't imagine why I was rejected if these things weren't true. I was almost angry at God for creating me. What was the point if I I was going to be average. Of course, all these thoughts seem extremely trivial now. Had I done this project last year, I would have been totally alone. But now I have you, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. Who would have thought that the girl I met at a business hotel in Dallas would become one of my closest friends? And how lucky am I for that? I truly do not think there is anyone I've met more driven or intelligent than you, Lillian. You always know the right thing to say or do. If I was younger, I admit this would have led to jealousy, but you are the kind of friend that I believe makes me a better person. Truly a Nicomachean friend of virtue. I first heard that distinction of the 3 kinds of friendship this spring and thought to myself, I hope I find one of virtue in my college life. Little did I know I would be Norway with one 2.5 months later.
Last morning in Bergen, we had an 8:39 a.m. morning. We're in pursuit of a bakery before our 11 a.m. bus.
Very excited, very excited. This
Exactly.
is my first morning actually waking up in Bergen.
Our morning tomorrow is extremely early, so it's nice that we're having this slow morning today. Bye bye Bergen!
I've been having a good time this trip, but I've been struggling to will myself to write. It's not that I think there's anything I'm specifically trying to avoid, it's just that I had a pretty good year overall. There's not really anything that is gnawing away at me that I feel like I need to repair. Am I really that unself-reflective? I want to be self-aware. I want to notice things around me. I want to reach out to others and fortify relationships. Letter writing is a way to do that from afar, but I wish I could do it in person. There's something about being face-to-face with someone that allows for a different kind of connection and intimacy. Sure, I do believe writing is my best medium, but I want to improve my face-to-face communication. I want to be just as intentional in my speaking as I am in my writing. I'm a fast talker. It's something Dad always told me when I was younger, filming whatever project we were working on at the time. Usually, my speed came with the rehearsal. The more I knew the script, the more I sped through. Everything feels scripted when you're younger. There's structure and routine, a right and wrong way to respond in certain situations. But then I got older and things didn't have a script anymore. No one teaches you how to break up with your first boyfriend. There's not a magical script following a fight with your high school best friend. It's no longer simple and easy. There are multiple right things to say and infinitely more wrong ones. I've definitely learned how to talk slow in my junior and senior years of high school. I wish I had done better. I certainly didn't do that very well on my last day of high school. I was thinking too much of myself. That's what happens when you talk fast. Your world narrows down to the point that you can only see yourself. That's why writing is my best medium. It forces me to slow down and notice how much I talk about myself over others. Dear Sophie, I'm currently in Norway pursuing a philosophy project on letter writing. There's this philosopher, Mary Wollstonecraft, who traveled to Scandinavia to repair her relationships. I was curious if that was still possible, to use the written word to apologize and mend. If there's one relationship in the world where I've messed up the most, it was with you. I hope you know that I regret what happened every single day. I was recently playing some juvenile truth or dare game with some friends I made in DC. They asked, what's the worst thing you've ever done? Instantly, I thought of senior year. Some guy was never worth the price of our friendship, and I find myself more and more aware of that frequently. When I come home from winter break or for the summer or on your birthday or when someone is talking about their travels, I always think of you. Going into college, I didn't need to worry about boys. My friend was worth far more. I guess I haven't actually written it out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being so selfish and putting dating above friendship. The word sorry doesn't feel like it carries enough gravity, but everything else feels like hollow words to capture how truly, well, sorry, I am. I'm not writing this with the expectation of a response. I just thought that after 2 years, you deserve some sort of real, tangible apology. You deserved it a long time ago, and I'm sorry it's taken me so long. If you ever do feel inclined to reach out or grab coffee, I'd love to hear about your adventures from the past 2 years. I've missed your stories.
Wish we could have seen this from the bus, but
I know. I literally.
it was insane.
The woman that was 2 seats in front of us kept
yanking the curtain down.
the blind so that we couldn't see anything.
And we were the only 3 rows on the bus that didn't have their blinds up because we're in Norway. Like, what are we gonna do? Like,
There's a waterfall up there.
like, why would you not want to see this?
Oh wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, which is great because I did not really think about the consequences of this extremely large suitcase and the mile walk to our campsite. I kind of assumed that a mile walk, that's easy. I used to run every single day of my life. What will a mile walk do to me? Turns out this mile walk was directly uphill, but we're almost there, I think. And we're in Norway.
Like, how is this even real?
Oh my god. Sorry, I didn't know you were recording already.
Also, sorry for the choppedness. I think Wollstonecraft was right when she said looking at the Norwegian fjords makes you reconsider your whole life. To be fair, I don't yet know what I'm reconsidering, but it's up there. Good morning. I have a giant cut on the bottom of my heel.
What is perseverance if not continuing onwards? Oh no, my braid fell out. Hello! We've embarked. Everyone gets off the bus at the same stop pretty much. All of them immediately go for the shuttle for the third stop. We're starting at the second stop, which is further. So we're better, obviously. And then we're realizing it's just straight up the road that the shuttle takes you up. Nice walk. A very nice walk. It's beautiful. It's a little steep, but I'm feeling better than I thought I would. Granted, we're half a mile in, but half a mile out of 17, but that's fine. Okay, we made it to what we didn't know was the final switchback, but we've hit the final switchback, and we see ahead of us that the vans that are taking people to
The easy tourist hike.
the easy tourist hike is here, and we made it. So now we're doing like just the normal part of the hike. That felt like actually not bad.
Yeah, it didn't.
Like,
Ignore my tomato face.
no, me too. Like, my biggest concern was being hot, not being cold or tired.
And I was
So,
very hot. I had 2 shirts and a insulated jacket on, and that was too much.
me too. I took off a vest and a rain jacket.
Yeah.
So, wow, that was actually nowhere near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Okay. We've hit another steep part, but we're still killing it. Apparently, we're like 5 miles from the summit, like the top. Those are synonymous, actually.
It's the summit.
The summit. This is a mountain, I think. The top of a
It
fjord.
definitely feels like mountain.
Yeah, we've gone like 3.5, but it's been mostly uphill so far. And then supposedly it's gonna flatten out. We'll see if that's true.
Dear Henry, today was my big hike in Norway, where we went 18 miles up the fjords to a lookout point. It was totally beautiful, as you would expect, and I was very glad to have another person with me as I did it. I was walking way ahead of Lillian for a lot of it, and it reminded me of all of our hikes growing up, Australia, Zion, Grand Canyon, and how you were always so far ahead of the family. I made it clear that it bothered me, as I do with many of my opinions. I didn't like the idea of being behind. You were always ahead. I guess it comes with the territory of being an older brother. You figure out the world a lot quicker. I know we laugh about how I follow you wherever you go, whether it's Claremont, DC, or even small things like cross country and mock trial. But part of it was because I had such a great example to look up to. You were far ahead on the trail, demonstrating the best way to go. When I think about it that way, being behind isn't so bad. Maybe it wasn't easy being the one who had to figure it out. I haven't shown enough gratitude for it over the years. So thank you. Thank you for figuring things out and sharing those insights with me. I didn't like that you were always ahead of me on this trail of life. Corny, I know, because it tended to mean that we were in very different life stages. Dad was right. You are one of my best friends. I'm grateful that the period of rapid growth at the beginning of our lives may be beginning to slow down, and we can settle back into spending more time together. I'm very excited to spend the fall with you.
Made it to the top. Lunchtime.
Lunchtime.
Casual view for our lunch. So unfortunately it started to rain.
Little.
Which is fine because at least it wasn't raining during the big kahuna of a hike. But we were almost done. I think we have like low-key less than half a mile to go.
Yeah, no, I think so. Wait, it says, half a kilometer actually. So,
Oh, like
0.25?
0.3.
0.3?
And then the bus is coming in like low-key an hour and a half. So we have a while to wait for that.
We have some time.
Oh, and there's a shuttle coming. Not for us.
Not for us.
It's going up the mountain.
'Cause
to
we're
get
walking.
people. And we're walking down the mountain. We did it! 17 miles. Okay, we've made it back. We're about to do our cold plunge, which I
we
think,
desperately need.
yeah,
for
I think
muscle
I have the
recovery.
wherewithal. For
Yeah. We need to get through it because I think our legs actually genuinely
Need
to
it,
recover.
yeah.
My feet are throbbing right now.
Oh, mine are too.
It's unreal.
Mine are too,
It's
and I am
unreal.
going to take probably the deepest sleep of my life.
Oh yeah, I was falling asleep on the bus actively. Like I was trying to look at my phone
Like-
to stay awake so that I would not fall asleep.
Yeah.
My eyeballs were closing.
We're on our way.
We're on our way. We're going.
This and then literally speed walking to the showers.
Oh,
like
yeah.
simply because
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
think
running.
my legs can handle a run.
I think speed walking, shower, bed, scroll through pictures. Oh my gosh.
Like I'm already exhausted.
Yes.
So okay, we're going for it.
3, 2, 1. Oh my god, that is so hard! Oh my gosh! 17 miles in a cold plunge! I'm really cold. Oh, I feel great though.
Last quiet morning. It's so pretty. Like, how can you ever leave that? We have our like 25-30 minute walk back to the city center. It's probably gonna be more like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I would say so.
We're feeling a little stiff today,
My joints are a
But-
little crunchy.
but that's okay.
My big toes are about to fall off.
The cut on my foot is saying, what are you doing? We're gonna make it, and then we're gonna sit at a cafe until our 3 p.m. bus.
And that's gonna be beautiful.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. The end. We have found a dock to sit at.
And I'm
Lillian.
eating my strawberries.
They are probably the freshest strawberries I've ever seen. She's ever tasted.
I actually, my brain short-circuited when I put this in my mouth for the first time.
But we're overlooking the fjords. We still have about an hour 45 until our bus, and then we're taking a ferry, and then we're taking another bus to get to Stavanger. So hopefully this all works out. Thoughts and prayers for us.
Exciting.
And I'll give you a view of the fjords. Look at this view. Imagine living right there. That would be insane. It's crazy to think that we are at the fjords that Mary Wollstonecraft was at 150 years ago, and we're still experiencing the same beauty, the same majesty, the same sense of awe. There's so much permanence even in the impermanence.
Lillian asked me yesterday, what is my favorite thing I've ever written? The question made me pause. I can't recall a time in my life when I haven't been writing. There's a deep well of content to choose from. Even if you narrow to my college life, that's still nearly 750 pages, spread across journals, college papers, and various school projects. College is where I started to be honest in my journals, so at least the emotionality is more real. When I finally gave her an answer, I had to laugh at myself. I told her that I had 2 different journals my freshman year. One was a constant running inner monologue, and the other was a smaller pink journal, where I wrote a series of letters to my high school boyfriend. I would have put them in my main journal, but I didn't allow myself to. It was almost like those letters didn't belong to me. I never sent them. It's not that I was too nervous to or anything. Honestly, he probably would have responded with something similarly soulful. But they didn't seem like they were meant to be sent. They didn't belong to me, but they didn't belong to him either. Come January of my freshman year, I stopped writing them. I didn't touch the journal again until December of my sophomore year. I was bored over winter break, and it had seemed like a good idea to see how crazy freshman year Greta was. But I was shocked. The letters were beautiful. They were packed with emotion. They were maybe the most honest pieces I had ever written. I had been trying in my personal journal, but nothing was really working. There was some invisible barrier that I refused to cross. It took me a while to realize that these letters I wrote in the small pink journal weren't for freshman year me or the boy she was writing to. They were for older me, as a time capsule of how I was feeling back then. I was finally honest. I wanted someone to hear what I had to say. I just didn't get it. I didn't trust myself to be gentle towards my own heart. I hope I can be better for myself moving forward. For older me, I guess this won't come as a total surprise, since you already know all the details of why I'm writing and where from. Hopefully, I can still say something meaningful, even though you are hopefully wiser than I am now. Knowing the you I know now, even though you've probably done some things you should be proud of, you probably also feel a little dissatisfied. I know I certainly feel that way now. No matter what I do, I feel like someone else is doing it better. I'm not trying to engage in comparison. It doesn't come from a place of self-hatred. I told Christina once I'm extremely self-critical because I want to be the best version of myself I can. I know I can be better, so I work to become that. I hope that by the time you read this, you've let go of the comparison but have kept the desire to be better. I'm having just as hard of a time writing this as I usually do when engaging in these kinds of exercises. It's strange. I have no problem contextualizing my life like some kind of biographer, but the second I actually try to talk to myself or set some kind of life goal, I totally blank. People tend to say that it's best to live in the moment rather than the past or the future. Well, I hope that's true, especially since I can't seem to imagine my life past 24 years old. I have no plans or direction, it seems. I hope that when you read this, you smile and shake your head, thinking about how silly I sound. I'm sorry if this felt a little sad or pathetic. I'm practicing more honesty when talking with you. I broke through the barrier in my journal, but not when talking with you directly.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. We're getting rained on.
We're getting quite rained on.
It's Norway, though.
It's Norway.
So we're really experiencing
the full range of season.
We're absorbing the cultural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our last night together. This is our last night together, and we're both a little bit sad about it, and we both keep talking about how lonely we're gonna be.
Yeah.
And
it's
the next
a little difficult.
So we're gonna go back, take showers, and then play bananagrams.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yuppie!
I've been experiencing the exact thing I was worried about. I'm feeling compelled to write letters to certain people, but I try to block it out. I worry too much about the ramifications of the action. I worry the person will take it the wrong way or tell people they know, or it will somehow come back to bite me. I've been trying to shut out the sensations and those fears, but they still linger. I have to remind myself that this project is not meant to be totally comfortable. If writing these letters was easy, I would be doing it without any real thought or consideration. I'm supposed to be thinking deeply, pulling out thoughts and feelings I maybe haven't faced for years.
Dear Adam,
Currently in Norway on a philosophy project, where I write letters based on the events of the day. I was lucky enough to have my friend Lillian join me. We just met this summer, but I already feel incredibly close to her, which can be a rarity for me. It usually takes me a while to let someone in. At dinner last night, we were talking about high school, and she had asked some question like, who was the most impactful person that you met? I was quickly able to answer with your name. You were my best friend for 2 years, and the person I wanted to continue talking to the most for 1. I wasn't always the most easygoing person in high school, as you were well aware of. I know I've said it before, but I want to apologize for any confusion or frustration that may have caused. At the time, I didn't know what it felt like to be in your position, but after living a little more life, I think I understand, at least a little bit more. I don't know how things could have gone differently. I wish I could point to some critical misstep I made that led to things being the way they were. I'm grateful that now, nearly 4 years removed, we were able to chat on your birthday. It almost took me right back to sophomore year and our time in high school. You understood me in a way very few people did back then. You saw the deeper anxiety beneath my awkward and uptight demeanor. I wish I could have been as understanding when you were struggling. I failed to show true empathy, and it's something I regret every single day. I'm sorry for anything I may have said that was callous or hurtful. I don't write this with any expectation of a response. I really hope that all is well. You were always one of the most intelligent and intentional people in high school, and I'm sure that's carried you well thus far in college. Best, Greta Long.
Good morning. It is our last morning together.
I'm so sad.
We're devastated. So we're playing bananagrams and patting and hanging out. I'm going on a hike at 11, and Lillian's going to the bus station at 11:30.
Yeah, 11:40, and then after the 11:40 bus, I'll just be on there for like 5 hours, and then I'll be back in Birken and thinking about Greta the whole way.
Devastating.
Devastating.
Okay, it's time for our goodbye.
This is
This is
tragic.
devastating.
This is literally devastating.
I know.
Please don't leave.
Please don't leave
Please
me.
don't leave me. I don't know where I'm going. I have
don't
no
know what I'm
directional
doing.
awareness. This is horrible.
We have arrived at the Pulpit Rock trailhead, and I'm going to start my hike. It's about, I think, 6.5 miles total, so it's very not long. What's really interesting about this hike is that it actually overlooks the fjords that Mary Wollstonecraft herself was seeing. So I'm very excited. I haven't seen the Norwegian fjords, but I haven't seen specifically the one that she was looking at. So I'm very much looking forward to this hike, a little bit of a solo trek. So I think it'll be fun.
I'm overlooking the same fjord that Wollstonecraft saw when she came to Norway over 150 years ago. She wrote that the sight made her reconsider her whole life. I'm not yet sure if this exact view is doing that just yet, but this trip certainly has been transformative. I feel like I've seen so much of Norway when, in reality, it's been such a small fraction, concentrated in the west and a little in Oslo. The world is so big, and I am so small. The fjords really put that into perspective. There are these huge, seemingly endless expanses, and yet there's hundreds, if not thousands, of viewpoints. I'm so grateful I got to experience so much of this trip and scenery with Lillian. The solitude is not for me. I'm not built to live this life alone. I was very stubbornly independent for a lot of this summer. I decided there were no better friends than the ones I had made in DC. After this summer, I had made up my mind. My DC friends are worth waiting for, and waiting for means solely focusing on. Who cares if CMC is lonely if I have a whole network on the East Coast? But during these 2 weeks, I'm starting to remember how lonely that life is. I had a plan in my head to put my head down at CMC, work hard, graduate, and head straight to the East Coast. The way I felt during the strictly solo aspects of this trip are eerily similar to how I feel daily at CMC. I hated myself for being miserable, and yet I refused to try and make connections. I thought it would be fine, but I'm remembering that feeling all over again. I don't want to feel that loneliness and isolation. I had thought I had found my CMC person in Kylie, but something went awry. I don't know what caused this rift, but it still aches. It's a bruise on my back that I refuse to see the doctor for. It hurts and hurts and hurts and hurts, building up more with time. I tell myself it's fine, but secretly I know it kills me. I may not be able to fix it, but I can try to reach out. Sometimes it only takes one person to break the barrier. Dear Kylie, today is one of my last days in Norway. It's funny that we talked about this project practically our entire freshman year, and now it's happening. I'm sure after a while it got boring to hear about. I appreciate how patient you were with me. Before my friend Lillian joined me on this trip, I was extremely lonely. And now she's gone, and that feeling is back. After a summer in DC, I'd kind of fallen out of practice with loneliness. The feeling is familiar, though, and it takes me right back to CMC, to be surrounded by people and yet feeling so utterly alone. It wasn't like that when we were close. I don't know when I stopped telling you things or why that happened. It seemed like one day, it just became apparent we weren't close anymore. In the total quiet, I feel the absence the most. It hurt my feelings when we were supposed to hang out and didn't. It hurt when we didn't talk much this semester. It hurt when you left without saying goodbye. I'm really looking forward to spending the semester in DC, especially after such a great summer. But when I think about going to CMC afterwards, I feel sick with worry. I don't want to experience that loneliness again. I know it can teach you a lot, but sometimes I don't know what I'm learning. When Wollstonecraft went to Scandinavia, not all of her letters had a thesis or a clear narrative. I'm not sure this one does either. I think I just needed to say that it wasn't easy for me to let go of our friendship. It wasn't something that I was passive about or excited for or something I felt flippant about. Honestly, I never really let go. I miss you, I miss living nearby, and I miss staying up late. I don't know why everything got so silent.
Morning, last day in Stavanger. It is about 8:30 and my bus is leaving at 9:30. So I'm gonna go grab some coffee. As you can see, I'm back in my original travel fit, mostly because I realized that my suitcase cannot be over 50 pounds and it was 49 when I came to Norway. So we're gonna try and fix that situation somehow.
I'm off to grab coffee at the one place that I know is open. Because Lily and I were realizing yesterday that most places don't open for coffee until like 10 or 11. So I could go to Starbucks, but that seems a little American. So I'm gonna try and go to the coffee shop that we went to yesterday. Okay, I landed in Oslo like low-key like 2 hours ago, but it took them like 2 hours to get our bags from the plane to the rail, which is totally fine. I just was a little bit taken aback by that. Now I am waiting to get picked up by my airport shuttle and do my final journal entry and final letter of the trip. So I've decided that I'm just gonna find somewhere to journal in the hotel, write my final letter, and then I'm gonna go for a run and grab some dinner somewhere.
This trip has simultaneously felt like a lifetime in such a brief moment. Luckily, these last few hours have not felt as long and lonely as I anticipated they would. That recently has been one of the lessons of this trip. This time last year, I was so embittered to the world. I was convinced that there was no one in the world I was capable of truly wanting to spend time with and have that feeling reciprocated. It was classic teenage angst, something it seems like most people would have experienced in high school. Late bloomer could be the title of my memoir. It certainly felt like a common theme. Though at times, it also felt like I've grown up too fast. Not necessarily because of things I've experienced, but because life moves so fast. When you're 13, you can't wait to be an adult. It's impossible to remember to slow down. I have one more letter to write for this trip, which is both exciting and terrifying. There's at least one more person that I get to sit and think about and snapshot. But there's also an immense pressure. I want to end by feeling pride in my accomplishments. But that also feels so clinical. How do you even begin to quantify that? There's not facts and figures and graphs. It comes down to me and the paper. I guess the question to ponder is, who has changed my life in a similar way that this trip has? Who was intentional? Who helped me realize that I don't need to walk through life totally independent? Who taught me that I can reach out to others? Dear Mr. Keeley, about 1.5 years ago, I sent you a devastated email about how I was rejected from a philosophy project in Norway. Now I'm sitting working on the last piece of that project. This trip was meant to be a learning experience, and it certainly has been. I've realized throughout the course of this trip that I am more of a people person than I thought I was, that I should not expect or hope to live a totally independent and isolated life. It's funny because I realized I supposedly came to this realization in high school. I guess life is a series of remembrances of things we've already learned. I'm sure it was frustrating to watch me my junior and senior year and read about my freshman year in emails. I was a person begging for connection and all the while pretending I didn't need it. I really appreciate your patience and open ear throughout those years. As a high school teacher, I can imagine it can be cringe-inducing to watch your students make a series of poor decisions. I am so grateful that I had junior humanities, advisory, and impromptu meetings to talk about questions that mattered, that applied directly to my day-to-day pursuit of the good, true, and beautiful. Thank you for creating that space. I recently watched The Dead Poet Society. I'm not normally one to be affected by film, but the relationship between the boys and Mr. Keating really hit home. I know for kids like me and my close friends, we got to experience that every day with you. Thank you for taking time to change lives, encourage students, and be their biggest fans. It did not go unnoticed or unappreciated for that matter. I hope all is well and the start of the new school year runs smoothly. Best, Greta Long.
Last letter of the trip is completed. That's actually crazy. I've been dreaming of this trip since I was like a freshman in college. Honestly, even before that, I was really thinking about it when I was like a junior and senior in high school. It's crazy to me that like this has come to an end. Like tomorrow, I go home.
And the use of other electronic cigarettes.
My boy for Delta Airlines Flight 165 service back to the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Okay, ending this video in the same place that I started. I was so grateful to have the opportunity to go on this trip and really engage with writing in a way that I haven't ever really done before. If you've been around me, you know that letter writing has been like something that I've been interested in for a really long time, but I've never really thought about it as a form of philosophy. So this was really, really interesting to go and actually live out something that I've been studying since I first came to college. And I learned a lot about myself through this process, actually. I learned that I'm someone who's really, really hungry for human connection. I always really considered myself an introvert for a lot of my life, which I know sounds really ridiculous when I'm someone who's considered very outgoing. But through this trip, I was able to realize that I'm actually far more extroverted than I thought I was. I was feeling like very exhausted by being alone. I also really realized there's a lot about myself that I don't know that I'm still figuring out. I wish that I had like some specific conclusion that I came to that I can point to, but I think that this trip left me with a lot more questions than answers. I realized in a lot of my letters I was writing about, I don't know why I do this, or I don't know why I'm this way. And so it was really interesting for me to experience that and think more about how I get to continue working on myself as a project throughout my whole life. Like, I'm an unfinished work throughout my entire life, and I was really, really grateful for that. And then third, this project just really made me appreciate a lot of the relationships that I have in my life, and I really got to think about how the people in my life have shaped me into who I am today and the ways that I want to keep reaching out to them and I want to keep forwarding that connection. So I'm really hoping that throughout my life I can maintain this practice of writing and maintain this practice of writing for the service and for the appreciation of others. Thank you so much for watching, and I want to give a very special thank you to the Soll Center for Student Opportunity at Claremont McKenna College and giving me the funds and the support to be able to go on this trip and live out philosophy in a way that we don't get to do every single day. Philosophy is a lived experience every day of our lives, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity to do it in a very unique way.